Hi Stampers, welcome to Judi Stamps at Happy Stamping Studios. We're going to be making a fun winter card today. I'm actually going to make it be a Christmas card, but this card design would be good for winter birthdays, winter thank yous, or even winter invitations. We're going to be using the Perfectly Plaid Bundle, and in the bundle you get the Perfectly Plaid stamp set and the punch. We're also going to be using our Seaside Spray Metallic Ribbon. This is a gorgeous ribbon. See how it shines? I love this ribbon. Some of our metallic silver thread and our timeless label punch, Seaside Spray ink. This is the only ink that we'll be using. We're going to be using our blender pen and our Wink of Stella also. Our cardstock, we're going to be doing a paper saver today, so you're going to be learning how you can take your colored cardstock and create more cards out of it. And we're going to use a piece of Seaside Spray that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 by 10 1/2, and it's scored at 5 1/4. I'm adding some of our Feels Like Frost Designer Series paper stack. Have you guys seen this paper stack? It is gorgeous. What I love about it, we're going to be using these two today. On one side, you've got beautiful images. Look at that. Aren't those gorgeous? And on the back side, you have silver metallic. I'll show you a couple of them. I've been using this a lot lately, and I'm going to be doing another video that's going to show you how to make several note cards and envelopes with this paper to use for gifts. But just look at this gorgeous silver-sided, and I'm going to show you another trick with the silver side, and then we have beautiful scenes on the other side. Look at that. Aren't those gorgeous? You know, you could cut this to fit a card front and just add a sentiment, and it's a gorgeous card in itself. So you could make quite a few gorgeous cards in no time at all. I'm going to set that aside. Like I said, I'm choosing the pine needle and the polka dot. And to get started, we're going to punch out a tree out of the metallic and a tree out of the pine boughs. And look at that. Look how the pine boughs just make that tree look real. Isn't that great? No work at all. I'm telling you, these are going to be easy cards. Okay. Start by folding your card in half, and then we're going to take our metallic ribbon, and I am going to take a little bit of our snail and adhere it to the one side of the ribbon, and we are going to go from the top of the card, oops, down to the bottom. So you're going to estimate about where your ribbon's going to be, and you're going to add some snail at the bottom. You could also use mini glue dots, would be great to hold your ribbon down. Just like that. Press it down, and it's crooked. I can tell already. Oh! You can see I'm going to have to use my adhesive remover, so I went off a little bit. Scissors aren't very sharp. Let me see if I can take my thumb. I don't know if you know this trick, but you could sometimes take your thumb and rub it against the adhesive and it comes off. Look at that. So I won't have any adhesive residue outside that ribbon. Just kind of keep rubbing with your thumb. So there's a trick that I wasn't even planning on showing you today. Now we're going to wrap a piece of ribbon around the card, and I'm going to take it 1, 2, 3, 4 widths around and cut it. And then I'm going to just wrap it around and tie a bow. Just super quick and easy, except when you're doing it on screen. Okay. Just make sure your both tails are long enough so that when you tie this bow you have enough legs, as I call them, on your bows. You can kind of scrunch it back and forth after you get it tied. Just going to hold that down with my thumb and wrap it around, and still kind of pushing on that knot so it holds it tight. Okay, now this is the time where you kind of play with your ribbon to get it to where you want. Tightening and maneuvering it. Now I do want the bow over the top of this one, so to move it I'm not just going to pull it, I'm going to actually kind of scrunch my sides up like this and move it to where I want it. Just like that. Okay, like I said, we're going to play with these legs a little bit till they're where we want them. Last thing I do is trim my legs, the ends of these bow, these two legs of the bow. I don't do that until my card is done. We're just going to finagle it a little bit. Okay, now we have our two trees, and what I'm going to do with these two trees, I just noticed it's a little bit crooked, is I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I do want one side with the metallic out. I wanted the polka dots out, and let me see here. Okay, and this one's going to be over the top, and I'll put one up towards the top. So I want to place these trees. Oops, I dropped my snowy one. So they look like they're hanging off of the bow. I was going to tie them with a little bit of twine, and I decided not to. So I'm just going to tuck this under. I want it hanging down like this. And then this one is going to go over that top of that one a little bit. So they're kind of hanging like bells. And just over the top like that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and adhere to our card base. Now remember I told you this was a paper saver. And you know, when we do a card base out of a color, we'll a lot of times use a white base on the outside and then do a white base on the inside of the card. This was going to give you the appearance that the card base is the Seaside Spray and you have a layer, but it really isn't. See? It opens up like this. So you can get 4 cards out of a sheet of cardstock when you do it this way. And then your white base. And this is the thick white. Okay, now I have some scrap white, which I am going to stamp the sentiment on. So let me get my stamp set out, and we're going to do our stamping now. I am going to use the Merry Christmas and this tree image that has the open leaves on the inside. We're going to use that on the inside of our card. Oh, sorry, I've got the sniffles. It's been kind of, weather's been cool and damp at night. So we're going to take our Seaside Spray and our Merry Christmas and stamp it. And then we're going to take our Timeless Label Punch and punch that out. And there, how we're happy with it. Now I do have another piece of scrap of the Seaside Spray, and I'm going to punch another label out of it because I want to layer that. But while we have our ink out, we're going to go ahead and do the inside of the card. I'm not going to, well, yes, I'm going to. I am going to stamp the inside of the card with hoping that your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. And that's a pretty wide variety of people. So I'll go ahead and stamp that. That's what I like about the stamp set. The verses in it can pretty much go for anybody you want to send a card to. From somebody that you work with, to a babysitter, a neighbor, a good friend. There we go. We're going to stamp that in there. And then I'm going to take this tree image and I'm going to stamp it off to the side. And while the ink is still a little bit damp, I'm going to take my blender pen and just go over some of these leaves. And did you know that if you kind of go in with your blender pen, it will color the inside of those leaves. And you can see I'm not real careful when I do this, because this is a light coloring because it's such a small image. Okay, and so then you get a little bit of color inside those. Then I'm going to take my Wink of Stella, because we need to make sure that that shimmer from the front of the card carries over to the inside of the card. And I'm just going to add a little bit of Wink of Stella to all these leaves on this tree also. Now this might not show up on the camera, but it is glistening already. Just kind of like snow sitting on the needles of the tree. And this kind of completes your card for the inside also. Now if you want to ground your card, you could pick up a little bit of ink off of your pad and then just add a soft little bit of snow drifts to underneath your tree. And that's just going to be grounding it. Now for that sentiment on the front, we have our two labels. I'm going to cut this one in half. It doesn't matter if it's exactly in half or not. What we're going to do is take our snail adhesive here and put it on the back. And we're going to line these up to layer just to give our label a little bit of substance and to have it stand out from the card base. And all I'm doing is kind of lining it up. You will have a little gap in the center on each side, but nobody's really going to notice that. At this point, I'm going to add some dimensionals. That's going to help hold that label on, plus that Seaside Spray layer on, plus raise it up on the front of your card. Just set that on there. Fix your tails, and you can trim them off if you like. Like I said, I kind of wait to trim those off. I'm going to wait until I send it. If the tails aren't sticking quite where you want them to, you could take a little glue dot and I'd stick it up here farther just to send those where you want them. But that's pretty much our card for today. Isn't that quick, easy, a clean design that's fine for anybody that you want to send it to? So once again, you can find all the products that I used today on this card through my online store at judistamps.com, and I hope you join me again next time. So until then, happy stamping everybody. Bye-bye. After completing the card, I realized I forgot to add my metallic thread. So I'm going to grab a chunk of metallic thread here, and I'm going to wrap it around 3 fingers twice, and then the remaining thread would be wrapped around 4 fingers. I'm going to grab it here just like that and bunch it, and I'm going to have a bunch there. I'm going to peel off this label because that's where I wanted the silver thread to be, and I'm hoping I can get it off. If I had my heat tool and a little bit of time here, I'm not going to remove that. Instead, I'm just going to tuck it behind it. So I'm going to take a dimensional and put it where I was squeezing it, and it held together. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what's the great thing about this. And I am just going to tuck it underneath the label here in as far as I can, and just maneuver that so it has a little bit of glitz to it. Can you see that? Isn't that gorgeous? Well, that's our card. So once again, thanks for stopping by and happy stamping. See you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.